How's it going, everyone? Welcome back to Set 6, and today we've got a little bit of a random one to be going over. What I want to do is I want to kind of look forwards to the very far future, probably like four and a half years, something like that, to when the third part of the Final Fantasy VII Remake project finally stumbles along, and I want to figure out what the title might be. Since Rebirth got announced, I don't think I've actually gone a week without seeing some degree of conversation or speculation about this. Even if it is just people having a laugh and taking the mick a little bit, there's at least conversation about it. And I was in a stream again last night. I finished streaming over on Twitch, raided Schrodinger's baby seal, and again the conversation came up in his stream chat. People were talking about re this, re that, what could it be? So why not have a little bit of a chat about it? Let's make a video about this and let's have a conversation. That's what I thought. Bit of a one-way conversation, considering I'm the one with the microphone. Yeah. Oh, that's what you can do. What would you do right at the start of the video? Get yourself down into the comments and put either your most likely possibility or your top three. What you think the third game could be called, because we've had it confirmed now it's going to be 3 games. We know that we've got Remake, we know that we've got Rebirth. What do you think the third one could be? Drop them in the comments before the video starts. Go on, jump down there. I'll wait. No, I won't. I'm going to carry on. You can pause it. So yeah, we're going to go through a bit of a pantheon of rewords. Not too many, because I want to leave room for you guys to drop some in the comments and kind of flesh them out. Don't just, if you're having a laugh, throw the word out there. But, if it's a serious one, give me a reason why you think it could be that. That's what I'm going to try and do in this video now. We're going to go over some ones that it isn't going to be. And we're going to go over some ones that I think it potentially could be, and maybe give a couple of reasons why. Don't forget, while you're down there dropping that comment, make sure you hit the like button, because it tells YouTube that this is a good video and people need to see it, and you want to help me like that, don't you? And while you're at it, hit that subscribe button, push us over that 1k. But enough of that, let's get on with it. Let's start talking about what the third game's title could be. So I've been going through all of the different possibilities that I've heard and that I can remember. And, there's a few that are decent, there's a few that are less decent. Yeah, there's a few that are less decent. Like, I saw someone post Rehab, but let's see Cloud get off that Mako. That was absolutely phenomenal. And I think if they made that the title for the third game, I'd be involved. I'd be up for that. A little bit of Rehab, get Cloud off his Mako addiction, get him back to normal. I think it'd be perfect. Now, one that popped into my head last night that's quite funny, that kind of feeds into the same kind of train of thought of kind of like getting Cloud back to his normal self. And it's not going to be this, because it's not a word, and that's recombobulate. Recombobulate. And technically the definition of it, even though it's not actually in the dictionary as far as I know, the general consensus on what the definition is to cause someone to think clearly again and to reorient or to put something back into working order. That could cover a lot of things. So if recombobulate was actually a word, you never know. Maybe. But as it stands, probably not. Regenesis? Anybody? No? Regenesis? No, to be fair, I think if it was Regenesis, too many people would have an absolute breakdown over it. Like, no, not Genesis, not like this, no! So, yeah, I don't think it can be that. Anyway, let's get to some actual ones that it could maybe be, rather than this nonsense that I've been starting with. Although, in fairness, recombobulate. Recombobulate's good. Now, getting into the serious ones, we've got things like rewrite, rewritten. I've seen a few people suggesting that one. It could be to suggest that Sephiroth is, because if you believe in that Sephiroth is trying to remake the timeline, he's been reborn in the next one, and then maybe he's rewritten Destiny in the third one. I think that could be a good one. I wouldn't necessarily say it's bad. I wouldn't necessarily say it's perfect or run with it, but I think it's a good shout. It leans into the context of what seems to be going on in Final Fantasy VII Remake's project overall, so yeah, that's a possibility. Another one that's pretty decent is remember or remind. I think if anything, I don't know, remember feels a bit unwieldy. Final Fantasy VII, remember. I don't know. I don't know if that works. I don't think that tickles. Final Fantasy VII remind, maybe. I mean, it could be to suggest that, the main party, throughout Remake, they're getting little snippets of what goes down, what their destiny would be if the OG was to play out. Maybe they get more? They get more of a reminder of the OG? No, I don't know. I don't know if this one works. Maybe the planet remembers. The planet remembers. That's it. No. No, I don't think Remember or Remind works. I don't think that's going to be one. Another one would be Resolution, but again, feels a bit unwieldy. It doesn't feel like it has any... It doesn't put me in mind of, oh my god, this is going to be a game and it's going to be action-filled. It doesn't do that for me, Resolution. So yeah, I don't think Resolution's going to be in there. I've seen Resistance a few times, but I don't know. I feel like if it was going to be Resistance, that's what the second one would maybe be called. Resistance feels like it could work, but it feels like there'd be another part after Resistance, maybe. I don't know. Am I reading that wrong? That's kind of how it feels to me. Now, the next one's quite good, but it's also not going to be this. So the next one that I've seen a lot of people saying is that it could go with something like Resurrection or Revival, but it's like Rebirth is essentially the same thing. They are, one and the same pretty much. So I can't see him going with Rebirth and then going with Resurrection or Revival. I'm not too sure. I think they'd have used that for the second game if they were going to use it, rather than Rebirth. And I think Rebirth works better than Resurrection or Revival. So, yeah, I don't think those ones. I've seen a lot of people saying that, and I don't think it's going to be them ones. Resurgence almost falls under the same kind of umbrella as Resurrection, Revival, Rebirth. It's a little bit different connotation-wise, but it's got a similar context, a similar vibe to it when it's used in this way. So yeah, I don't think Resurgence is going to be one. Retribution? That's another one that I've seen quite a bit of. Cheeky bit of Retribution. Maybe. Revolution as well, I've seen that one. I don't know, a lot of these feel like they could pertain and end up being the third title. Like, it's not a 0% chance. There is a very slim chance that some of these could pan out and work out. But I'm not feeling anything that connects me and drives me in the direction of any of these ones. Could they just go with Remake again? That'd be pretty funny. Final Fantasy VII Repudiation, maybe? The party are just unwilling to accept the new timeline that Sephiroth's put in place? No, that's bad. That's bad. I've gone back into the first section here. What's going on? Relapse? It's essentially an Eminem album at that point. No, don't think we can do that. No. And to be fair, there's a lot of potential names that are kind of middle of the road. It could be them. It might be them, but there's nothing, like I say, that kind of drives me towards it. There's two that actually make me think, really? That could be a thing. Now, one of them could be Revelations. Now, I did joke about this one when I was in BBC Stream last night, saying the revelation is that Yu Yevon is actually Jenova and finalises the connection between Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy X, and we get one combined universe ruled by Yu Yevon. No, we're not doing that. That's not the one. But when I thought about it, it would fit in with some of the events that go down in, if the story does stay tenuously close to the original game. It does kind of link into some of what would go down in that phase of the original game. So if we assume that Rebirth, and again, this is going off the probably wrong assumption that the game's going to follow the original game, which it isn't. But let's pretend for a minute. If Rebirth, let's say it gets to the North Crater, where Sephiroth gets the Black Materia, because that could essentially be viewed as his rebirth moment, potentially. I think the rebirth has already happened in Remake, but you know what I mean. From that point onwards, we do get a pretty substantial amount of revelations, particularly about Cloud in the original game. So it could be that because we'll probably still have to have, even if it doesn't follow the original game, Cloud still thinks he is not who he is. So Revelations would still fit, because that is going to come out at some point. I have a feeling it comes out in Rebirth, if I'm being completely honest, but if not, Revelations could be a solid title for the third game, because it would encapsulate a lot of the revelations. We would probably get some kind of context and understanding of why Sephiroth's doing what he's done, how he's done what he's done. It would be the final game in the trilogy. We would get answers. It would also be the capstone game of the entire Final Fantasy VII compilation and story, because I very much doubt they do anything else after this remake project. So it's the opportunity for a lot of answers and a lot of knowledge to be thrown our way, because it's the last opportunity they're going to get to do it. So Revelations could be a pretty good contender. I genuinely feel like Revelations could be a solid contender for a title for the third game. And then the only other name that really gets me as a possibility for the third game's title is still Reunion. I'm sorry. Day one. Well, not day one. I'm being a bit false there. But pretty early on after Remake released and I'd completed it and everything like that, I believe I did a video, I can't remember which one it is, I'd have to dig through and find it, but I did a video where I kind of suggested that the next game's titles were going to be, we've had Remake, we're going to get Rebirth, and then we're going to get Reunion. Or we might have got Reunion and then Rebirth, I wasn't sure on the order. But they were the 3 titles that I initially threw out there for a trilogy, because it was obvious it wasn't going to go longer than 3 games. You get franchise fatigue if you go longer than 3 games, you're waiting 14, 15 years for the story to conclude. They're not going to do that. It's already a push making it a 10-year project, which is what a trilogy would essentially be, if not more. So that was kind of what I settled on as my 3 titles: Remake, Rebirth, Reunion. We've got Rebirth coming now. We've already had Remake. And technically we've got Reunion coming. So when they said Crisis Core Reunion and announced that kind of felt like the death knell for me, for Reunion being the title of the 3rd game. And a lot of people echo that sentiment. And, you know, they're kind of thinking, yeah, it's probably not going to be Reunion now because we've already got that. I'm not too convinced about that. I think they could still go with Reunion. Because if you think about it, Reunion itself is kind of about coming back together. And what we've seen as far as Remake and Zack goes, Zack is going to be an active player in the story. I'm not saying that you're going to control him, but he's going to be active in the story. He is going to be an active player in the story. Whether or not he pops up in Rebirth remains to be seen, because I don't know if it's a bit too soon. I don't know. I'm assuming Zack's going to have his own journey to kind of go through, and then eventually the 2 journeys are going to coalesce into one. So I feel like when we get to the 3rd part, which is probably going to be called Reunion in my mind, or Revelations, but yeah, once we get to that 3rd part, that's when whatever's going on with Zack in the, whether it's a timeline, a reality, or whether it's a time frame, whatever it ends up being, the thing that's going on with Zack will clash with the thing that's going on with the party. Because if it's not going to, what's the point in Zack being there? It has to come to some sort of fruition at some stage. And that would essentially be a reunion. So I think they could still use Reunion as the title for the 3rd game. It's a bit weird because they'll have done Crisis Core Reunion, but then it ties Crisis Core Reunion into the 3rd game, Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Which then makes me think, and yeah, we're going down a bit of a rabbit hole here, brace yourself. If Part 3 turns out to be Final Fantasy VII Reunion, I would then expect there to be a connection between the 2 games, which means if we play Crisis Core Reunion in about a month and a half's time, if we do that and we find changes that connect to the Remake project, and by that I mean new things that connect directly to this new story that's going on in Remake, not the usual stuff that's there, not expanded stuff that just would relate to the OG as well as Remake. It has to just specifically relate to Remake. But if we see something like that in Crisis Core Reunion, that will confirm to me we're getting Final Fantasy Reunion as the 3rd title. That's my head, though. That's in my mind, that's in my brain, that's how my brain works. What do you think about what's going on? I just want to get you all involved, because it's a weird conversation, this one. It is 95% speculation. This is real tough, but yeah, my gut feelings, Revelations or Reunion, with a heavy link to Crisis Core Reunion, if it is Reunion. Reunion, I feel like I've said Reunion so many times it's lost meaning, so I'm going to end the video now. Like I say, down in the comments, let me know what you think. Don't forget to drop a like on the video and subscribe for future content, but more importantly than any of that, have a great day.